So good afternoon and welcome to the Standing Committee meeting for Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. All council meetings will continue to be live streamed on the city's website. Our first order of business is roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Reverend Burgess, Mr. Coghill, Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Kraus.
Here.
Mrs. Cal Smith, Ms. Strasburger, Ms. Warwick,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Lavelle Chair.
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before city council, and profanity will not be permitted. After you are called, please restate your name and neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller. I do not see Dr. Miller with us today, so our next registered speaker is Ikuhana Haumalkina, whom I also do not see with us and or online. Thus, our last registered speaker is Pomai Shakman Yahalehi, whom I also do not see with us. So that will exhaust our list of registered speakers. If there's anyone with us in chambers wishing to speak, please come forward, provide your name, neighborhood. You will also be given 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Bernadette. I'm from Beachview. And thank you for bearing with me on my little show and tell, trying to help you understand what happens with liquid in a truck. So there's several more things. We already know that Bowstead and Coast is just dangerous for pedestrians and any truck delivery. Crosby, coming up off of Wentzville, Wenzel. I went up to Tim's Corner, and I was crossing to Chicken Latino. Excellent, by the way. They're right now today. It's 23% off. I didn't say that. Anyway, the zebra cross lines and where it's one of those steep crests, again, where cars cannot physically stop at a stop sign. They have to come up through, and frequently people visiting the restaurants up there are parked where they can't see. So if you're in the middle of trying to cross there without a pedestrian cross light, it's dangerous. I've talked to several people in Beachview, several of which they feel that Crosby at Broadway should be one way going down, not coming up. There's only like 1 or 2 houses on that street down there. It's actually a very nice nature area. Unfortunately, cars speed up coming up off of Wenzel. The other thing is 1600 Broadway, owned by the Urban Redevelopment Authority. I understand it's about to be remodeled. However, there is a cement ADA ramp with no guardrail, and it literally blends in. And last week there was a little kid running away from his mother, and he almost went off of that ramp. It's like an Olympic snowboarding, you're going to go straight up in the air. If anybody goes and looks at it, if somebody doesn't have good eyesight and they're coming down there and they're on that side of the street, they can very easily go up that ramp and just fall. And trust me, I have a concussion from falling off of a wheelchair ramp. But those are some of the things I wanted to add to the list of safety for pedestrians or wheelchairs or whatever in Beachview. And thank you, Anthony and Teresa.
Thank you. Any further speakers wishing to speak? Any further speakers? Seeing none, that will move us on to our standing committee agenda. The first of the day is Finance and Law, which is chaired by myself. Our first deferred paper is Bill 677.
Bill 677, Resolution authorizing the Mayor, the Office of Management and Budget, the Department of City Planning, the Department of Finance, the Department of Innovation and Performance, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Public Safety, and the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh to temporarily address the public health emergency of homelessness in the City of Pittsburgh and to provide for policies and programs to address the lack of affordable housing and their consequent contribution to chronic homelessness as directed herein until more permanent solutions can be implemented.
Motion to hold for 2 weeks.
Second. Can I brief discussion?
Yeah.
Brief discussion,
Can I say
Council?
something first? I just want to thank the committee that's been working on this. Councilman Coghill's been doing a really great job of chairing, but there's Councilwoman Gross, Councilman Coghill, Councilman Wilson, and I believe Councilwoman Strasburger, is that right?
That's right.
On the committee. And I just want to thank you all for doing this work, but I know that you know how important it is and that we want to see something moving soon, that we're at least making some recommendations. And Councilman, that's all I have to say, but I know Councilman Gross wants to add to it. I want the public to know we are working on this. This is something that council's taking seriously. We formed a committee. It's not just a committee to come up with nothing. It's a committee to come up with recommendations.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yes, thank you, President Smith. And it's to your credit that you created the committee, and I really appreciate that because we've done some good work. You also referred to me a University of Pittsburgh engineering undergraduate team that has completed their presentation, and I've given it to Councilman Coghill. So they did their project this semester on creating a tiny house village to alleviate the problem of homelessness in the city, specifically because City Council was talking about the issue. They had a different project at the beginning of their semester in September to, I think, re-engineer one of our streets on a steep hillside. And when they saw us talking about it in the news, they switched their topic. And so they've completed their semester-long presentation. I actually have written down their names, if I can put on my glasses. Isabel Wolf-Lee, Dylan McGettigan, Jason Puglisi, and Kyle Robinson. Thank you. Robinson, maybe? Thank you for your work. We appreciate it. They're graduated now and off in the world, I think, with jobs in other places, but we'll be adding this to our committee report. And then secondly, I want to acknowledge that the administration has been working on other issues, and so we've been holding this specific bill to just accommodate the other efforts that they've been making aside from identifying vacant parcels. And so we have a draft language that hopefully we'll be bringing back to you very soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilman Coghill?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so thank you, Council President. I appreciate your patience. You know, it's taken us a long time, but we have been working on it steadily. I plan to reconvene, the four of us, I hope, next week and, go over the details. Councilwoman Gross, good job. Thank you for following through and getting the team of engineers from the University of Pittsburgh on it. As she said, I haven't had time to delve into every detail yet, but I'm looking forward to reading that report. That certainly will be part of our presentation, along with a couple other things. We're working with the architect from 2nd Avenue Commons to come up with a different new design, and we look forward to presenting it to council and the administration in the next couple weeks, I hope, if not within next month. So again, thank you for your patience with us, but I just want to assure you, as I did last night, that we are going to be wrapping it up, I hope, in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. So all those in favor say,
I
Madam
just want to
President?
really quickly ask that you will also include in there the housing co-ops, because I am working with the Land Bank and Reverend Burgess and hopefully Yore on assembling some parcels to extend the housing co-op in Sheridan. And so
It's exactly what
I wanna
the
make sure
draft
that
language
that's
is. And
included.
I was trying to get together with you earlier today to show it to you, but yeah, it's exactly where we're going with it. I appreciate it. And I think that's a fabulous suggestion. And so what I'm trying to accommodate in the language is either the purchasing, renovation, or construction of new housing that can be cooperative permanent housing.
And I think the
because I
housing
have some
has to
others.
be included with some kind of follow-up with mental health and with some other stuff. But that's just the first get people into housing and
Some people are
off the
calling it
streets and into
permanent
safer places.
supported housing. Some people are calling it transitional housing, as we talked about it before. The HUD calls it transitional housing, but not everybody else does, where there's 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week support. And we've toured, I toured with my team, a transitional housing project in the city that's been going on since the 1990s. It's fabulous. And it places 100 veterans a year back into independent living, right? And so the average stay is only 6 months, and they have about 50 people on site at all times. And so 100 people get their lives back, get their feet under the Veterans Place in your district.
It's in my district, right?
It is, and I really am so impressed. The operating budget is only $2 million a year, but they don't receive one dime of city money, and they don't receive one dime of Allegheny County money. So they're entirely privately operated. And if we had several more of these that are like Second Avenue Commons with a single room occupancy, they're adding single room occupancy onto the Veterans Place site. I think we can really prevent people from actually having to live outdoors if they don't want to. So I think we're all trying to get to that same end. And because we know that it's very difficult to get people into supportive housing right now, that there aren't any spaces, right? And so Second Avenue Common is filled in a gap, but it hasn't filled it completely. All right, so appreciate it.
All those in favor of a 2-week hold, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill will be held 2 weeks. That takes us to Bill 1060.
Bill 1060, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Eric Walker and his counsel of record, Timothy P. O'Brien Esquire, in the amount of $7,500 in full and final settlement of litigation filed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Now need a motion to approve the invoices.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Invoices are approved. Need a motion to approve the intradepartmental transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing,
Wait, is this the P cards that we're doing?
Was that P cards or was that invoices?
we just approved the invoices.
No,
We're on the
what's yours?
transfers now.
Mine's a P card transaction.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative transfers are approved. Need a motion to approve the P cards.
So move.
Second?
Discussion?
Discussion, yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to delete the item, the OMB item for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette subscription.
Can't
Right
do
now.
that.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah.
We already asked this. of the
Okay.
clerk.
So
Well, at any rate, just to say that at the moment, I don't think any city, nobody should be having a Post-Gazette. We're all asking
Like,
myself, Councilman Strasburg,
Do you
to
wanna say
cancel our
something?
subscriptions, et cetera. So city council, the city, we should not have subscriptions. That's my opinion.
Can I just talk real briefly about it? I did ask the law department about this, and because it's the only one in print and some other thing, there's, and widely distributed, I can't remember all the reasoning, we just can't stop we have a responsibility by law to report to the public. And I can't remember the exact word. Do you remember what it was? I think you were
With
copied
seeing
on
that
it.
seeing that the Post-Gazette is the only newspaper in distribution, both print and online, that's the only paper that is generally used widely by the public, and that's the newspaper that we generally advertise our legal notices with. So we can't do like a city paper or the Courier because they don't come out daily.
So we did ask. So.
Councilman Kraus?
So
Oh,
this is a really,
Okay,
really.
so this is a separate, do you want to go ahead?
The chair recognized me. Get the floor. Can we have the solicitor come up? Just ultimately, I think after everyone's had an opportunity to discuss, I think we ought to just ask at this moment to delete while we get an opinion from the law department. It's a very, very complicated matter right now. None of us want to be in opposition to supporting the strike, and yet there are some legal complications which bind us to our lawful obligation to advertise. And so with the complexity of the matter, after I ask our solicitor, it might behoove us to ask to delete this and actually get an opinion from law. But I fully understand and appreciate council's desire to not engage with the Post-Gazette in the midst of the strike at this time. However, we may find ourselves legally bound to do so in some way. So, but I have the floor, Councilwoman, I'm sorry, and I'm going to ask the solicitor the question. So could you help us to kind of try to understand this?
Sure, I guess Dan Friedson, solicitor for city council as opposed to the municipal corporation. There's a solicitor for that. And I got to ask a question. This is an expense for OMB
Yes, it's a subscription.
for a subscription, not
the
to pay the
advertising.
advertising. Okay,
Yeah.
that was my clarification.
Yeah.
So if it's a subscription, then no harm, no foul. But if it's a payment for an advertising service, everything you said is absolutely correct.
So it says advertising on here.
Does it say for
It
advertising?
says advertisement. Is there something different in
No, no,
writing?
no, this says renewal of Pittsburgh Post
So you're
Gazette
reading
for
the
52 weeks.
text file.
$286.
Okay, but on here it just says advertisement.
Oh, it's in the P cards, sorry. It's
Yeah,
It's in the P cards.
yeah.
For 52 weeks. Yeah, so that's pretty clear. That's a renewal for a Post-Gazette subscription for 52
Oh, I see.
weeks. That's a subscription. So you have some discretion there. But if it was an expense for a legal advertisement, then we're kind of stuck with the paper of general circulation on a weekly basis, and that's what we have.
So, Mr. Chair,
right,
we
you're
just
right,
approved
David.
the P cards.
We have not approved the P
We have not
cards.
approved the P cards, you're right, we're on the P cards. Okay, interdepartmental, yes. So I certainly want to provide opportunity for every member to say what it is they wish to say in the matter, and I'll relinquish the floor. But it just seems to me my position will ultimately be we probably should remove this at this point in time and get a clearer understanding as to our lawful obligation under our desire to support striking workers and where that intersects. So that's sort of my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Strasburger?
Yours might be more relevant to this, then I'll follow you. I'll pass it to you if the chair is okay. Yeah.
Rose?
Councilwoman Warwick pointed out to me, Councilman Kraus is referring to the invoice for the law department,
I was.
which
not
is
him.
the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette advertisement for $902.50. Councilwoman Warwick, who can speak for herself, was referring to the P card for OMB, which is the subscription. So I didn't want you to, it seemed like you were conflating the two and getting confused.
It wasn't Councilman Kraus, to be clear, it was me. I was looking down here without my glasses.
Councilwoman Strasburger?
Thank you. Well, on this topic, I just wanted to note my intention to look into the issue of where we advertise in general. Even before this topic came up last year, I was made aware of New York City doing an audit of their advertisements in local papers in general, and passing, I believe, an ordinance, if not an executive order, to diversify where their advertisements are placed. I understand that with legal advertisements, there might be some restrictions, but we have other types of advertisements when it comes to HR and others. And the point being is that there are many hyper-local papers. I can think of East End Print, which is a monthly hyper-local paper, South Side paper, the North Side Chronicle, that certainly are well utilized and well read by the public, need all the help we can get, and those are the types of hyper-local papers that we really, that take the place of, oftentimes, of the wider citywide and regional-wide papers that no longer have people to attend those local meetings and attend the zoning hearings and attend the types of meetings that our larger circulating papers once did. So just wanted to note my intention to investigate this and look into this and see if there's a possible policy we can't pass to help support those local papers that mean so much to our neighborhoods.
Tokyo?
Yes, thank you. I'm in support of severing any ties that we can without any legal ramifications. I certainly have severed ties, and I would call upon my colleagues here to not speak to the reporters. I've gotten 2 or 3 calls, and I won't even speak to them anymore because of the ongoing strike. So certainly there's no legal obligations behind that, Counselor. Is that correct?
Yeah, these discretionary matters that you're speaking of,
I mean, they can take what we say here at the table and print whatever they like and put it, use our quotes and our words, but I have since taken the stance where I won't even take their calls until
Right.
they straighten out their
the matter
differences.
of legal notices, which is
Yep.
completely different
Got it.
than everything else that you are trying to support here. But legal notices are unfortunately a state law that says, you have to circulate in a newspaper of general
Right.
circulation,
Right.
a daily newspaper.
Right,
So
and what
that's kinda-
Councilwoman Strasburger is implying is that there are many other deliverables out there for us that we can advertise, and as long as we are marketing it through other publications, then we fulfill our obligation, correct?
Correct.
So why can't we just do that?
I mean, I believe state law says it has to be through a daily publication.
For legal notices, yeah. But for like advertising
We can certainly
jobs,
advertise 20 other,
Are we
You're not
bound?
preventing us from
Yeah.
using others.
we're not prevented from using 30 other places to advertise.
But you
But
have
per
to
state
also-
law, for legal notice, has to be a daily publication.
Well, the Trib has a daily digital publication, and
Not hard copy.
so it has to be hard copy
Has
as
to
well?
be in print,
Per state law.
In print?
on paper. Yeah.
So if we were, and that has to be daily, is that correct?
it wouldn't hurt
I
for
don't wanna
our
misquote
state
everything 'cause-
legislature to update the laws with the advent of digital media, but the idea is that because legal notice for a zoning hearing might happen on one day that requires the notice to be on a Thursday. And if the Trib only prints weekly, then you may not be able to get that notice in there
Yeah.
for that particular meeting. So it's like you always, the duty, the spirit of the law is so that the public knows where to look
Absolutely.
for legal notices. And the state law then provides the guidance that it has to be in a newspaper of general circulation. It doesn't necessarily say daily, I think, in the statute. However, case law has interpreted that it has to be adequate notice and has to be in such a manner that the public always knows where to look. And so because the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is our only daily printed newspaper of general circulation, by the marketplace, we're kind of limited in our choices in order to be consistent so that the public always knows where they can look for the legal notice, no matter what day the event's happening on. So if we're having a public hearing on a particular day, a zoning hearing on a particular day, it just may not meet up with the weekly publication.
Right, but from what I understand, the Post-Gazette only publishes a print paper on 2 days a week, Thursdays and Sundays, correct?
I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm positive. I'm positive, yeah. They only do 2 days a week, so. And you know, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the state has to change its regulations. In today's world, everything's digital. Our newspapers are digital. But if we're going to be required to post things daily, we don't even have that paper. We have to use different outlets. We can't even use a Post-Gazette because they only print 2 days a week. So I don't understand what the issue is.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So look
Yeah,
into
they
that
don't
some
have
more.
they print paper on Thursday and Sunday, that's it. So, yeah, I'd like to sever ties any which way we can, is my point. And if that means we have to go to alternate papers, that's more than adequate for me, so. That's all for me, thanks.
Thank you for the education.
Sure.
So I know Madam President wants to jump in. Just for my 2 cents, Madam President, if you'd be willing, at the end of your remarks, to call for a formal legal opinion, given the updating printing schedule of the Post-Gazette, given the state law, if we could get an updated formal opinion on where we can legally review.
We'll be happy to do that. And I do want to also say that this might be an opportunity. I'm glad we had this conversation. Thanks for bringing it up. I think maybe we should, as council, the strike is really impacting the city of Pittsburgh. It's impacting a lot of people. We should, as a council, maybe schedule a meeting to meet with Post-Gazette leadership and try to put some influence forward about how important this is to us and to our residents to end this strike. So maybe we should do what we can to sit down with them and maybe with some other people. So I'll be glad to schedule that too if members want to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Second round, Councilwoman Warwick.
Oh, yeah, just to reiterate, as far as the subscription goes, and I mean, I would encourage all other departments around, just to take a look. If someone in each department could take a look and see if you have, because you may have it, just didn't think of it, if we have a Post-Gazette subscription, if council has one, just to click that do not renew button. Takes about a minute, so. And, also, if we do have a discussion with leadership, I think that we should also have the workers represented at the table.
Well, we would definitely include
Yeah,
the union,
just to
we're a
make sure.
union council.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help to just have them here. We have to have somebody to make the decisions.
Okay. Councilwoman, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, so motion to delete.
Second. All those
With discussion, please.
with discussion?
So now I'm just kind of confused about the motions because we discussed a motion about a formal law opinion.
Well, I was asking her to call
In
for it.
addition.
She hasn't.
Okay.
Well, once we approve the invoice, I was hoping the Madam President would call for
So
it.
in relation to this, council's in agreement with the 90250 law that we've already approved? right?
the invoices,
And so-
yes.
Yeah, and so we're not reconsidering invoices in any way. The motion is simply to remove the subscription from the, oh, God, forgive me, my arm is killing me, from the P card. I'm happy to support that as well. And then happy also to support when Madam President makes the motion for us to, for council to be informed in clear clarification as to what our duty and obligation is to respect striking workers and meet our legal obligations to advertise. Thanks, it was a good discussion.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion to delete, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The Post-Gazette subscription for OMB has been deleted. Any further discussion on P cards? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? P cards are approved, Madam President.
And I'd like to request a formal opinion from the law department regarding the subscriptions of the Post-Gazette and our advertising.
Our obligations to
obligations.
legally advertise.
Where can we do legal notices? Are we only limited to the Post-Gazette, or can we use another publication in town?
A second very brief discussion, if I may.
Discussion?
Are members comfortable with the clerk maybe crafting that request in a more robust
Yes.
manner as to what it is we're really seeking?
Madam Clerk, please send the, thank you.
You okay?
And then Solicitor Friesen,
course.
please help her with the wording. Thank you.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk will reach out to the law department for a formal review. That moves us on to Public Works Committee, which is chaired by Councilman Coghill. Our first newspaper is Bill 1092. You want to read 1093 together?
Yes, please.
Bill 1092, Resolution amending Resolution Number 685 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended Resolution Number 797 of 2017, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2018 Capital Budget and the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2018 through 2023 Capital Improvement Program by updating the fund code for JDE job numbers. Bill number 1093, resolution amending resolution number 686 of 2022, effective December 2nd, 2022, which further amended resolution number 863 of 2018, effective January 1, 2019, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2019 Capital Budget and the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program and the 2019 through 2024 Capital Improvement Program by updating the JDE job number for the new Complete Streets deliverable.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That moves us to Human Resources Committee, chaired by Councilman Burgess. We have one new paper, Bill 1079.
Bill 1079, resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with Interchange Group LLC to provide strategic planning and training to the Commission. This legislation authorizes the encumbrance for 1 year in an amount not to exceed $20,000.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Land Use Economic Development Committee, which is chaired by Councilman Wilson. We have one deferred paper, Bill 661.
Bill 661, resolution accepting a new street name, Woodring Court, in the 23rd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee. The following street name was approved by CPAC in June of 2022. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code, Title IV, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street Naming and Addressing.
Motion to hold 4 weeks.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill be held 4 weeks. That takes us to Urban Recreation Committee, chaired by Councilman Strasburger. One deferred paper, Bill 860.
Bill 860, resolution instructing the Director of Parks and Recreation in the Department of Public Works to amend the rules and regulations for sports field permits to provide priority use to athletic organizations comprised of City of Pittsburgh residents.
Motion to approve, discussion.
Second.
Discussion, Councilman.
Thank you. I will defer to the bill sponsors.
Thank you, Councilman Wilson. Do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you for everyone's patience. We have a meeting scheduled with with the Department of Public Works to review this legislation on the 11th. So motion to hold 2 weeks.
Second.
Second with
With-
discussion.
Second with discussion?
Second with
Council
discussion.
President?
Thank you. And I just want to say that thank you to Councilman Wilson for working on this. And this did come about because we were contacted by, Erica, what's that group? Councilwoman Strasburg?
Dynamo
Little
Soccer?
Dynamos, Squirrel Hill Little Dynamos. And at the time, they were struggling with permits. And there was another organization, they were struggling with permits. And then we found out Councilman Wilson was having issues, I was having issues. And it just seems to be a thing across the city. So we want to get this right because, we don't have to keep going back and saying that there's an issue with permits in the city of Pittsburgh. But I really think the problem is we need to add, even though it seems like we're losing, especially children in the city of Pittsburgh, but yet there's a greater need because older adults are now using the fields too. There's a greater need for the fields. And I know with you that they talked about the Pittsburgh Public Schools creating a new field in your district too, Councilman Lavelle, and that you can make it as amazing as the Shenley Oval if we can get the support of the Pittsburgh Public Schools, and realizing that people need these fields. And during COVID, I think everybody realized how important our parks were and how important our fields were to our community. They're the people, like we said, who kept the kids off the streets and positive things. So I just want to say thank you, Councilman Wilson, for working on it, but we want to make sure we get it right. But that's what started it all, this conversation. So I want the Little Dynamos to also realize their voice was heard too.
Robert?
I just wanted to add, so with this legislation, if there isn't already, I feel like in addition to it being City of Pittsburgh residents, it should also be youth sports should have a priority. I mean, I understand that adult rec leagues are great, that's great, but at the end of the day,
And I just say why I think that it's a concern is because some of the people that use the fields are 17, 18, 19, which would make 18 and over adults, and those are some of our most at-risk youth. So we want to also balance that in a way that's, that we're making sure everybody's getting the field. So that it's a conversation to have, though.
I mean, even if it's at the discretion of the permitting groups, like if it's a clear-cut case between a,
Yeah.
20 to 30-year-old group of students who play soccer, right, at whatever, versus a high school team or that's
Right.
clearly a youth team.
I think it's trying to balance all of it, but I think Councilman Wilson and I are open to everything. We just want to see the kids on the fields. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to Councilperson Warwick's comment, just that that is part of like the consideration of, I have an issue, where there is a youth league that they feel they're at risk at a permit that an adult league would take out, and would kind of stop a lot of the usage that they've. So that's at the front of my mind whenever we're making this, trying to make these amendments to the. Well, it's not a current legislation. I mean, this would be new. It was just empowering them to make these changes in-house, the permit office. Thanks.
Councilwoman Gross?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate kind of the conversation we were having last year to remind the public that people are unable to find locations in the city. So they're going to far-flung neighborhoods, far from where their own team is, or they're looking and calling our offices and looking for places to play. We've all kind of experienced this, especially on rectangular fields. And so we're kind of shopping for areas where we can either, I don't even think it's a matter of restoring rectangular fields. It's almost that we've lost rectangular fields and we need to gain some back, right? And so that's why I'm happy to hear about the partnership with PPS in your district, Councilman. I didn't know about that, but I've got a site that I've talked about before at 62nd Street, which the city was kind of holding for maybe a DPW facility that's 8 acres. It's flat. It's easily accessible by roadways and highways, and is more than enough space. I understand you need about 4 acres to do a rectangular field plus its facilities, stands and concessions and parking or something like that. I think that was about the ballpark that we came up with. So we need to put these considerations kind of all on the table to see that we're not meeting the needs and the demand for youth and adults, and they're competing with one another. And that's a shame, because we do want to have outdoor activities and not drive people to other municipalities in order to be able to get permits to play. So thank you for the work. Appreciate it, and I'm supportive.
Thank you. Thank you all, because I'm sure we're all going to have a say in it.
Thank you. So all those in, Councilwoman
Oh,
Warwick?
just one more thing, just because, and I said this once before, but just to underscore it again with the permit, I mean, this is just for us, just to know in the permitting, when you apply for a permit, at least in my experience, if, say, you want to rent a shelter at the Braddock, the Frick Park Playground at Braddock, say you want to rent the shelter for 2 hours, right? The system does not allow you to do that. You have to rent the entire park, baseball field included, for the entire day. And that is your only option. So, I have a birthday party from 4 to 6, and I get in early and get my permit for, I don't even know how much it is, not very much. That means that a Little League team can't play on the field that day, which seems silly.
And we have
Seems
some
like
that-
an easy fix. Yeah.
I was going to say, and we have some fields that you don't need any permits for shelters and stuff, and so that creates, confusion too. So I think it's a conversation, maybe to work with Councilman Wilson and I on some of your suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. So all those in favor, Councilwoman Strasburger?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor of a 2-week
She
hold?
came to all the meetings.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The bill will be held 2 weeks. That takes us to our last committee of the day, Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, which is chaired by Councilman Warwick. We have one new paper, Bill 1097.
Bill 1097, Resolution amending Resolution 747 of 2019, which authorizes the mayor and the director of the Department of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with Mansfield Oil Company for fuel card management and system implementation services by extending the term for 3 years and by increasing the authorized spend by $32,400 for a new total cost not to exceed $81,385.
Motion to approve?
Second with discussion.
President?
I'm just curious, is this an extension of a contract? I don't have my glasses on, I guess I should put them on. And was an RFP out or anything like that?
So it's an
It is
extension
a-
of existing.
sorry.
Here?
Excuse me.
Now,
Oh, yeah, it's extension of an existing contract.
it is.
Yeah.
It's an
The-
extension.
The brilliant Mr. Walton could answer your question, but it is an extension.
Should we come to the table? Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you just introduce yourself for the public, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Brandon Walton, Fleet Services Manager.
Thank you, Brandon. You do a great job. But could you explain this a little bit?
So this is a contract extension, renewing the Mansfield contract for 3 more years. They handle our fuel management system and our fuel credit cards used by Fleet.
Do you do an RFP for this, or
We did originally.
originally?
Yes.
So I'm going to vote no today, because is there a reason, unless you could tell me a good reason why you didn't do another one, just to extend it, or to find a different company?
More of convenience with the current equipment that we have. They manage our fuel systems on our site, or our city-owned fuel sites, and that's how we track our preventative maintenance, or our odometer readings. So it just made sense to continue with them.
I think it makes it easier. It doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, it may seem like it's the right thing to do, but I think the public wants to know that we've done our due diligence and making sure we're getting the best. It may have been this just a continuance is what we needed to do, and I'm sure you know that. But for me, whenever I see these, I'm seeing a lot of it, extending contracts instead of it coming back to council for approval or for us to review whether or not we're getting the best dollars for our contracts. So I'm just going to vote no today on that because of that. It's just not a principle. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One in opposition, affirmative recommendation. That exhausts our agenda for today. We do have meeting announcements. On Monday, January 9th, with sessions at 3 and 3:45, council will hold a virtual briefing on the medical debt relief legislation. Also next week, council will hold our regular and standing committee meetings on Tuesday, January 10th, and Wednesday, January 11th at 10 a.m. respectively. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. the day of the meeting. To register to speak at these meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage. You may also call the city clerk's office at 412-255-2138. And on Wednesday, January 11th, with sessions at 1:30 and 2 p.m., council will hold a briefing on PWSA's new Customer Advantage portal. Anything from members? If not, motion to approve the minutes and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.